The Chase Trifecta has been one of the smartest strategies around credit cards. A few cards working together, combining rewards with multiple ways to get strong value. But that era is fading, and I say that as someone who's had Chase cards for over 8 years now. Today we're talking about what happened. From updates to Chase's core cards, revamps to their rewards program, how they're falling behind stronger competition, and where you might look now for a stronger value instead. But rewinding back, why was the Chase Trifecta so good to begin with? Well, for years, the Chase Trifecta was a perfect example of how 3 or 4 cards can work so well together that they deliver more value together than they did individually. You had the Freedom Unlimited as a solid foundation, the Freedom Flex for elevated value in select categories, and the Sapphire Preferred or Reserve sprinkling a ton of extra perks on top while tying everything together. The real magic, though, came from pooling those points together. Because remember, while the Freedom cards are advertised as cashback cards, the rewards you earn are actually in Chase points, which you can convert back to cashback at the 1 cent per point rate, which means getting the 3 times points for dining will give you that 3% back. However, once you had moved those points over to a Sapphire card, that's where you unlocked a couple more ways to unlock way more value. Like transferring those points to one of Chase's travel partners, where the value you get varies a lot, but I usually estimate around 2 cents per point or more. And honestly, this is how I've used my Chase points almost exclusively, booking experiences like these and these with as little as a single card's welcome bonus. You would have then also unlocked a higher 1.25 or 1.5 cents per point of value when booking through the Chase travel portal, depending on which Sapphire card you had. That option was actually quite popular for the majority of people who wanted guaranteed elevated value without going through transfer partners, which comes with all the effort finding sweet spots, finding availability, and all that jazz. You would have gotten up to 50% more in value using a portal like any other portal, something no other ecosystem offered for their rewards. And that was one of Chase's true superpowers. Strong cards individually, but even stronger when put together, with ways to consistently get elevated value that wasn't just transfer partners. But things aren't the same anymore. Let's start with the Freedom Unlimited, the foundation to the setup. The whole point of this card was simple. No matter how much you're spending or where you're spending on, you would get 1.5 times points on all of that, making sure no dollar went unrewarded. The problem though is that nowadays, 1.5 times on everything isn't that great anymore. Back when you could funnel these points to Chase Sapphire cards with that guaranteed elevated value, this would be more like 1.875 or 2.25% back in value, making this card a lot stronger for a no annual fee card. But now that guaranteed consistent value is gone. And nowadays, 2% is more of a common floor value for this catch-all category. You've got the Wells Fargo Active Cash, the Fidelity Rewards Visa card, which also has no foreign transaction fees, or the Citi Double Cash card, which itself could feed into the Citi Thank You Point ecosystem. Or for most people, the bulk of that spend could fall into a select few categories anyways, which means a card like the Capital One Saver could work as well, giving you 3 times on dining and groceries, or the Wells Fargo Autograph card giving you 3 times in dining, travel, transit, gas, and more. Yes, the Freedom Unlimited still has a couple bright spots like 3 times on dining and drugstores, but as a foundational card, it just doesn't stand out as much anymore the way it once did. And the Freedom Flex, well, that one's not off the hook either. On paper, the Flex has a few times a year where it can get a lot of use, with that 5 times points on rotating categories, up to $1,500 of spend every quarter. Quarters with Amazon and PayPal, I reach for this card constantly. This kind of return was especially powerful back when you had that guaranteed value bumping to 6.25 or 7.5% back in Chase travel portal value. But again, no more. Not only that, but the rotating categories now feel a bit weaker. Take Q4 of this year. Old Navy is a single retailer most people won't even spend that much in anyways. PayPal is there, but only in December, so yes, holiday season, but no Black Friday. Chase has tried to make up for this by offering more points through Chase Travel, which combined with the existing multiplier on the card will earn you 9 times points on that spend. But you would need to pretty much already have travel in mind to book right away, and the portals have to have what you need at the prices that are comparable. Rule of thumb, always cross-check your prices. Because for example, when I was looking for flights within Australia for later this year, the portal showed me $206 when direct with the airline was only $167. Even with a 9 times points, it still wasn't worth it. Now, the Flex is still a no annual fee card, so there's no harm in just keeping it around, but unless the categories get better again, it may just see less and less use. Which brings us to the backbone of the trifecta, the Sapphire cards, with the more common one being the $95 annual fee Chase Sapphire Preferred. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a pretty decent card that has a spot in my wallet and has been there for over 8 years now, with the main draw being the 3 times points on dining spend, even though it's not that unique anymore. Take the no annual fee Saver card from Capital One, or the City Strata Premier offering the same multiplier. It's also the card that lets you pool Chase points across other cards like the Freedom ones, and transfer them to partners for flights like these and these. But for many people who relied on that guaranteed elevated value through the portal, it's a big downgrade. That easy way to stretch the value of your points without transfer partners, gone. Not only that, but there just hasn't been that many updates to this card recently either, whereas much of the competition has. For example, 2 times on travel just isn't that impressive anymore. The $95 City Strata Premier card has 3 times on air and hotel, the no annual fee Wells Fargo Autograph has 3 times on travel, and the no annual fee Build card has 2 times on travel. Then there's the $50 hotel credit. On paper, that sounds nice, giving you a way to offset that $95 fee, but it's honestly kind of hard to use. Prices through the Chase travel portal, at least for my recent searches in Singapore, Taiwan, and Australia, have consistently been higher than direct or third-party bookings, even with offers like getting $100 off $600 of Chase travel spend. That, or I have other cards like my somewhat new Marriott Bonvoy Boundless card, giving me way more value from the points I would earn back. And with so many competing credits on premium cards like the Venture X or the Amex Platinum, this $50 credit typically takes a backseat. So at this point, the Sapphire Preferred is just my main dining card and the one that helps me unlock transferring of Chase points. And because I redeem that way heavily, it's still worth it for me. But compared to what it used to be, it feels less like a powerhouse and more like a supporting role. What's more questionable on whether or not it's still worth it anymore is the other option to fit into this trifecta, with the newly refreshed Chase Sapphire Reserve card at $7.95 in annual fees. And the fee is not the only reason why this card feels polarizing. For starters, the multipliers have shifted. You no longer get 3 times points on all general travel, but will get 4 times on direct flight and hotel bookings outside the portal. Depending on how you spend, that could be a downgrade, because you'll no longer earn bonus points on things like cruises, taxis, trains, or travel agencies. Then there's the 8 times on Chase travel, which is a bit of a mixed bag depending on your spend, whether it's in hotels or flights, because then you have other options like Venture X or the City Strata Elite. When it comes to status, yes, you do get IHG Platinum Elite status, but it may not compare to if it had status on Marriott or Hyatt even. And of course, the biggest downgrade, the removal of that 50% extra value of your points when booking through the portal. Now instead, having points boost, which gives you up to 2 cents per point in value, but has no guarantees and typically leans towards more premium flights and hotels. And if you're mainly someone who uses transfer partners, then, well, the Sapphire Preferred already unlocks that with $95. On the flip side, if you're the type of person who can use many of the Reserve's credits, you could come out further on top. The easy-to-use $300 travel credit still stays. You get a higher $500 credit to the Edit collection, split every 6 months. $300 dining credit to exclusive tables, also split every half. $250 to Apple TV Plus and Apple Music subscriptions, and a handful of other smaller or niche perks that can help you offset the annual fee. To give credit where it's due, the protections here are still excellent. Many travel protections still trigger even if you pay just part of the fare with a card, making it great for taxes and fees on award tickets. And Chase continues to offer higher than average shopping protections like $500 per item on return protection when many cards don't offer it at all or only offer it at $300. But the reality is the Amex Platinum's refresh delivers a much higher ceiling of value, while simpler cards like the $395 Venture X card still gets you some slightly restricted lounge access and strong everyday multipliers. Overall, yes, Chase still has the solid 1 cent per point floor for going through cashback, but that consistent and reliable 1.25 and 1.5 cents per point that made the whole trifecta so great is gone. Meanwhile, the Freedom cards haven't really evolved, still no grocery category, weaker quarterly category lineups, and even when it comes to transfer partners, the competition is really heating up. Like Bilt with a strong list of partners including Hyatt and Atmos, Citi including American Airlines, and Capital One now including JAL. The Chase Trifecta is no longer the powerhouse setup it used to be. So where should you be looking for value instead? Well, the good news is that you're not locked into the Chase ecosystem, and competition is only positive for consumers like you and I. And it's better now than ever with all of the choices we have. It's impossible to cover every choice out there, but these are the top 5 that stand out to me. First off, if your focus is booking through Hyatt, which so many people who use Chase do, then you're out of luck. Unless you look at the Bilt to MasterCard, the only other issuer that transfers into Hyatt. And I get it. Hyatt is pretty much the last remaining hotel program that still offers solid value through a simple tier system instead of most programs going to a dynamic pricing. On top of that, you also get more unique partners with Bilt like JAL and Atmos. The earning structure also mimics that of the Sapphire Preferred, 3 times on dining, 2 times on travel, 1 times on everything else, but here including rent payments, as long as you use the card at least 5 times every statement period. But if you're going to have this as a core card, it should be pretty easy. Personally, it's a card that's been on my radar for a while now, but without a significant welcome bonus, it's been pretty hard to justify as my top priority card. Maybe if you can get close to that 100,000 point cap every year, it could be a lot more lucrative. Next up is one that doesn't get much attention, but is quietly building in the background, and that's with the Wells Fargo autograph card. No annual fees, still gets you 3 times on some broad categories like restaurants, as well as travel, gas, transit, and more. Step up to the $95 autograph journey card, and you get a higher 5 times on hotels, 4 times on airlines, and that same 3 times on other travel and restaurants. The $50 statement credit here is also much easier to use, requiring just a minimum $50 airline purchase that is not restricted to a specific portal. Now, the downside here is that Wells Fargo doesn't have a wide network of transfer partners yet, right now including the list here, which is still not bad. They've got Flying Blue and Virgin, but they are looking to expand, so I would keep an eye out here as Wells Fargo could be that real underdog. Now, if you're still looking for that powerful multi-card setup, then look no further than the Capital One Duo, which pairs a Venture X with a Saver card, covering you with 2 times miles on all spend, and a higher 3 times, given you can convert those rewards into Venture miles on dining, groceries, and more. Together, you're probably covering most of your spend already, all in an ecosystem that still has a strong list of transfer partners with Flying Blue, Aeroplan, and recently JAL. And one that's relatively cheap, with the Venture X's $395 annual fee probably being covered by the $300 portal travel credit, which from my experience, the Capital One travel portal, it's way better than all the other ones I've tried, with competitive pricing, price drop protection and all, and that 10,000 miles anniversary bonus. In my books, both of these combined is around $400 every year at least, which more than offsets the annual fee, while still giving you some of those premium perks like some restrictive lounge access. It's a setup that is lower effort, still flexible, and still has that high ceiling through partners. Fourth, a setup that very closely mimics that of the Chase Trifecta, the Citi Trifecta, which actually caters better to that everyday spender. For example, instead of the Freedom Unlimited, you have the Double Cash, earning you 2% back unlimited on all your spend. Already a slightly better catch-all card. Instead of the Freedom Flex, you have the Custom Cash, offering you 5 times back on your highest spend eligible category, up to $500 per month. So more freedom for you to choose and adjust from month to month. And instead of the CSP, you get the CSP, the Citi Strata Premier. 10 times on hotels and car rentals through the portal, 3 times on air travel and hotels, 3 times on restaurants, supermarkets, gas, and EV. Better coverage across common categories and still a solid ecosystem with their transfer partners. So overall, better coverage across some common categories. Of course, this isn't without any trade-offs though, with the points on a Strata Premier being worth less than 1 cent per point if you're going through cashback, and no concept of any points boost when booking through Citi's portals. But if you're pooling points and aiming for transfer partners anyways, as long as the partners work for you, like Flying Blue, EVA, which is more unique, then Citi could be up your alley. Even if it means just diversifying diversifying your points a bit more so you can take advantage of different transfer bonuses across different programs whenever they appear. And there's a new player that's more and more rolling out to a wider audience now, and that's with the Robinhood Gold card. Yes, there's a waitlist, but from what I've seen online, recently a lot more people have gotten access. But a card that gives you an elevated 3% on all spend without extra work is really hard to beat, especially if you're already a Robinhood Gold member, which comes with its own host of other benefits. For example, you might get 2 times points for travel on your Sapphire Preferred, but without the guaranteed 25% boost, you're either getting just 2% back in value for cashback, or you're putting in that effort for transfer partners or points boost and getting around 4% back in value. You could instead just get 3% on the Robinhood Gold card and call it a day. That said, while the Chase Trifecta isn't entirely dead, Chase is still one of the strongest ecosystems of points, especially when it comes to flexibility and value. It's no longer that no-brainer recommendation it was a few years ago. There's now so much more value to be had out there, especially when it comes to cards that could completely change the way you travel. So go on and check out this video for exactly how, and I'll see you over there.